that the growth was happening here. It was not only on the plans, but on the streets. You wanted to be part of it. AI can only do so much. And what you run into now is like that complete sea of sameness, right?
You either compete on brand or you start competing on price,
Exactly.
which is...
It's a losing game.
It's a losing game for everybody.
Yeah. I think balance is such a difficult word. I don't have a good answer to that.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a really tough one. Not everything is a signal. China is on high speed, a lot of noise. If you can really see what's a signal and what's noise, it will really help you to focus.
So, hi, I'm Jeff.
Jacquelien.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
For the benefit of myself and also our audience, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Jacquelien Postigo Brussee and I was a GEMBA CEIBS 2020. I am from Holland and I've been living in China for 15 years.
Oh, wow. 15 years.
Yeah.
Can you describe to me a little bit about your decision to come to China 15 years ago?
Yes.
What led to that?
So actually my first connection to China began a little bit earlier than that, in the early 90s. I could travel with my father, joining him on his business trips. So I think that embedded me with a kind of cultural experience in those days of China. Perhaps I couldn't really understand the complexity at that time, being so young, but I did feel the sense of ambition and the sense of growth being in those meetings and just open-eyed experiencing it all. So I think that ultimately directing me back towards China. So I've traveled over the years after that to China. I kept traveling to China. And then I was like, okay, I want to be in the middle of it, not only, going back and forth.
Nice. What were your favorite places to go? Was it Shanghai or was it Beijing or was it somewhere else?
We went to many cities, but I would love to, if we take the long night trains, seeing the chickens and the livestock in the train and all those craziness that you wouldn't experience in Europe, which was really stayed with me over the years. And I'd love to walk around in the mountains. My father going to the factories, but I was just seeing and going around. So I think that's made a very nice memories for me. But also the bigger cities like Hong Kong and Guangzhou and Shenzhen, where they weren't so big then. So last year I went back to the Canton Fair after 25 years. I brought back my old badge, and an organization was like, wow. So they invited me to their cultural museum kind of section. And I could remember the building where it was held in the early 90s. It was just very, very nice, yeah.
When did you decide to settle in Shanghai? Or when did you decide?
Yeah, it was a decision made back in Holland with my then company. We had operations globally, and with that entity, I could travel overseas. I was in a traineeship program of 2 years. And I really pushed for China, and I knew that the growth was happening here. It was not only on the plans, but it's on the streets, and you wanted to be part of it. And I think that just pulled me to China, making the decision and pushed the case forward to the company. Okay, put me in China, and we're going to make it work.
So can you tell me a little bit about what it is that you do now? And I saw that you're CEO of Jibe.
Yes.
Can you describe to me what that is?
Yeah. So over the last decades, I'm in brand building, brand consultancy. And since a year and a half, I started Jibe. So my own consultancy, brand consultancy, which really centers around one big idea called brand gravity. I think that is very, very important that we moved the old playbooks of branding, of pushing a message out, communication, to participation. So less control, more participation and collaboration. And I think really having built Jibe around that mission, I think that's a passion. And I see it working with the clients that we are attracting over the last month and already being awarded for the work in the industry. I think that's this underscores why Jibe has existence. Yeah.
Can you tell me about what type of clients are seeking you out?
Yeah. So we're working currently, or we have worked in some great project with international IPs like the Olympics and China Construction for the Olympic Youth Center. We have done the tour of Shanghai, sport and wellness related, lifestyle. And that's something I think culture is a very big part in, of course. So those clients, we have done the WTA Ningbo Open. So it's a big global international IPs. But we also have done Chinese candy brand packaging. So there's a little bit of a broader set of clientele, both international and big IPs, but also creating new IPs for China, and that in the sport and lifestyle sectors.
So how do you mitigate, or how do you pitch your value proposition, especially to Chinese companies, on the value of actually investing in branding and going through that process, and not just, you know, having AI come up with a brand or something like this? Or how do you pitch it? Or how do you sell it in?
Yeah, it's not a short-term thing. You build brand equity through be consistent, through what we at Jibe believe is to be part of culture. And we do that through a model called multi-dimensional brand experiences that is tiered on 4 C's. So commerce, so your e-commerce or offline or retail, your conversations, so your content, your messaging, collaboration, the right collaborations, and then community. So I think those things are very critical to build brand gravity, and that's important for Chinese and global companies to focus on. I think the pitfall is, or what we're used to with branding, is very keeping control. Everything is stuck in a guideline. The consumers, they want to participate. They want to have it in their life. So rather than pushing, okay, we are this message, we are this product, it's more taking the stance of thinking, where are my consumers, obviously, but then how can we add value in what the things they're already doing, so within the community. Coming back to your question on how do you land that in conversation with Chinese business owners, I think they realize, because they have the ambition to not only be number 1 in their category, but also going overseas, right? And now, in the last few years, perhaps the competition in market was very, very hefty and like a red ocean. So they already push much faster to go overseas, and they are able to do that. You see beautiful Chinese brands that are so in-depth in culture, so distinctive, and they are proud, and that sense of proudness of the Chinese DNA, I think that is just reflecting very well in the global market right now with some very good examples. So really, how I come into a conversation with Chinese companies or global companies is not what looks nice, more of how can branding answer your business growth strategy? How can it help? How can branding be a tool? How can it, inflect that? And having business cases, having that experience is something that they trust and that they also appreciate. Yeah.
Nice. What is Jibe's differentiator from the old school kind of WPP?
Yes.
Big agencies, which are not so big now these days in China.
No, exactly.
But what are your differentiators?
Yeah, I think Jibe is very strong in staying agile, using AI, of course, to make systems more efficient. But we made a promise, like, okay, everywhere there will be senior and really talented people that are in the project. AI can only do so much. So I think it will definitely have an impact on the middle level of agencies in terms of how it cannibalizes work or make it more efficient in the output way. But I think building that brand gravity needs still the human brain, because we can think back, we have deja vus, we have feelings, we have emotions, and I think that cannot be replicated yet with the AI. And the best brand insights comes from humans, from the creative brain.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen it several times where AI has hit a sort of limitation of what's been done before, or based on you can get it to imitate
exactly
very easily and do a little bit of research for you even. But to come up with something new or to have insights based on human experience,
exactly,
this is not going to happen.
And what you run into now is like that complete sea of sameness, right? So that's something, of course, helped by the output of AI and just leaning on too much on that. And you see your brand moving away from the distinctive assets that the brand should keep and that keep close to the DNA of the brand itself. So I think there is a role definitely for brand building and for brand agencies. Not shy away from AI, I'm not saying that, but really look at where can it be more efficient, how can it be helping you to build that and keep that brand gravity coming, like suck it all in like a gravitational center, yeah.
Also sort of questions on your take on the current overall kind of marketing, advertising, business climate right now in China. And the trend, of course, is mobile, digital. And there's been a movement away from TVCs and this kind of traditional advertising and big movie star kind of like product kind of sponsorships and all this. That's been kind of going away, and then the rise of KOLs and the rise of, they call it 自媒体, the individual creators, content creators, and KOCs, all this, and the KOCs and KOLs and all this. What's your take on all that?
I think you hit a good point, and it's a very, very valid question at this moment. My opinion is that indeed we are kind of not over it, but I think we have a level of, okay, we have seen everything what we've seen with KOLs and celebrities and KOCs, but I do think we need to include more participation inside the brand building, really inside the communities, that meaning at the consumer side, letting them more speak or come out or participate. If that is through KOCs, because that are authentic consumers, that is perfect. If you need to work with a celebrity or a KOL, that will always stay, it will not disappear. It needs to see, okay, how are the values of a celebrity? Does it match with the brand? Just not only the face, but how does the celebrity perhaps behave in their normal life? And does that also align with the brand and what they try to see? So
for my own benefit and also for our audience's benefit, can you tell me, like, what is the difference, the real difference between what you see as a true KOC or versus a KOL? Or
for me, it's brand loyalty, because you can have the lipstick, the salesman, and then you have the bag salesman, and then the next day they are promoting your competitor, right? I think that is totally not authentic to me. That is for the moment perhaps brings a peak in short-term sales, but does it really become a brand ambassador? That needs to be a conscious choice from the KOL itself, but also from the brand, obviously. So I think going down more the mid-level of KOLs, KOCs perhaps, because they're...
So sorry, KOC stands for?
Key opinion consumer.
Like key opinion consumer, okay.
So really on that level of they are using the product, they have built their authentic community around, built on their values, on what they preach. Perhaps it's a health nutritionist. So really then working with them, because it's already their, the community is true to that person, rather than get the shiniest KOL out there that's most hot, and then it's short-term sales. Perhaps in 8 hours they sell millions, but yeah, what does it mean? Of course, down the line you have a peak in sales, but what does it mean in long-term brand building?
In China right now, we're in an environment where there's like price wars, right? Oversupply and harsh, fierce competition. You're very well positioned in this type of market because you're offering a solution that it no longer competes on price, that you can, through branding, maybe extract greater profit or maintain price. You either compete on brand or you start competing on price,
exactly.
Which is
it's a losing game.
It's a losing game for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's it's a very good place to be in if you can get it to work and you get Chinese companies to understand the value of branding.
And it is already over a couple of years, of I think the last decade, that there are very strong products being made in China. Second generation is coming back to the chairman, the father, saying, okay, we do this OEM, but why not have our own sexy brand, right? So they come back saying, okay, we have this great product. We can also create strong brands and bring them overseas. There is this new focus and also drive and ambition from the second generation and further along with young teams to really push for brand, like ownable brands. Yeah.
When you have people join your organization, what kind of people do you look for?
I look for people with very different backgrounds. I do not want only singular, okay, are you being a brand strategist? Have you been doing that for the last 5 years? To me, that doesn't matter that much. I want people that have different kind of experience, because that was what we need. Different insights, if it's journalism or other kind of, professions. I think that will shape and are important in how we look at brands. Obviously, they need to be on top of the trends in terms of AI or whatnot. But going back to more character rather than educational background, I think I need people that are open-minded, not afraid of risk, and curious. I think that's a word that I also advocate to my kids as well. That they stay curious.
I'm kind of shifting a little bit. You mentioned your kids.
Yes.
How old are your kids?
So my son is 11 and my daughter is 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
and
really...
both born in Shanghai.
Both born in Shanghai. Right. So I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Oh,
so
nice.
Around the same age. As a parent, to help maintain or spark that curiosity, because at that age, this is when it's very interesting, right? They're curious naturally, and then they also start having their own opinions. And what do you do to foster this?
Yeah, I like, of course, bringing them everywhere, bringing them to museums, bringing them to other experiences, travel, the more standard things. But I also, it's open questions. Just during, we have a routine of asking questions, like, hey, how did you do? Or what do you think about this? And even if I sometimes bring work home, and that's, I cannot avoid that, they start asking questions right now, like, okay, or they've seen a logo that we created, and then they come back a month later, like, I've seen that. It's in the market right now. And then they're so curious to ask more questions. And I think my son is very much into building his own business. I don't know if that's more of the newer generation of like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Let me sell some products. I want to support that. So all what they ask or what they're open for, I try to feed as much as possible. So I think that is key. Yeah.
It must be challenging. Jibe is a new business, I'm assuming, and your mother. How do you balance? I
think balance is such a difficult word. In like work-life balance or balance, where is the balance, right? I think if you feel happy, if you feel happy with the choices that you're able to make, so I think it's not a black and white thing. It can never be, I think, in my opinion, especially not in China. You have client meeting in the night. You are, you get messages over WeChat in the early morning. So I think it's that, but what helped me is to give up that sense of, okay, it needs to be work-life balance, that hard life, and being in the moment. So when you have that decision, then be in that moment. It cannot be half-half. And that is something I think really nurtured, and also the company, but also my family.
I see this happening with my wife actually a lot, is that she's in a totally different industry, but she has very demanding clients. In the West, we would say it's almost like she's getting bullied from her clients.
Yeah.
Like Sunday morning, 6 a.m. call, and we're supposed to have family time and all this.
Fly over, yes.
And it's much easier for me because I'm a guy and I can be mean sometimes, and I just like whatever, But for her, I find it, she has a hard time saying no. Do you have strategies to cope with, especially as a female leader, to cope with like very demanding clients in a very demanding business environment? Do you have advice for women that have a hard time saying no, that always feel like I need to please the client and all this?
I think it's sometimes really hard, and every client is also different. So I personally try to really manage expectations, but I do think we have space to really consciously say no sometimes, and it can be very difficult. I also had very much trouble doing that at first, It's related to how you would follow up after that no. For a mother, we're always there, right? It's always mom, where's mom, where's mom? And then the one question to the dad is like, where's mom, right? So I think that will not change. And I think we need to also get energy out of that to be needed. And I think that's a good thing, that I'm needed and I have value, not only in work, but also in the family. But it's really hard sometimes to say no. And yeah, I don't have a good answer to that.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. Still learning on that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's that one that came to mind. And then the other one that came to mind for me was for successful entrepreneurs, especially in service-based businesses.
Yeah.
Quite often what they'll find is that over time, especially ones that are very capable, over time they'll find that they themselves become the bottleneck of a business that is growing. Because whatever project that you have or whatever client that you have, they want Jacquelien on the project because you're the, you're the branding person. And, I've struggled with this a lot. I found that I've become bottlenecks of my own business. And this is horrible because there's only so much time in a day. Everybody gets older. There's only so much sleep you can get.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this and how would you cope with it going forward?
I think for now, we're still a small team, or 5 people. We're not yet at that point of being a bottleneck. We still can really push hard. But I have experienced it in before roles as being the CEO of China, being the bottleneck because they want your face. They want you in the meeting. I am very focused on, and I was focused on training my follow-up, my second hand, really including them already, really coaching, mentoring, because there's only one Jacquelien. Obviously, you need to be there. Some kick-off meetings, you need to be there, and giving the feeling to the client that you're still reachable. Not only always present, but contactable and reachable. That give a little bit of space, but I think really working and really give them the trust that they're able to fill your shoes in the near future.
A lot of people that I've talked to about this kind of topic is there's a real fear on the other side, on the flip side, especially of business in China, that there's a loyalty issue. So when you bring somebody closely with you and you train them up on everything, and all of a sudden they leave and they steal business and all this. What's your take on that?
I always approach things more positively. Like I would not say, okay, I'm not going to teach you anything because you will run away and start your own business, or all kind of risks that are there. I think there will always be risks. There will always be, we're people. So I think if you focus on the areas that let people stay, having a great culture, giving autonomy, giving trust and support, of course, good remuneration in terms of not only money, but overall, I think that will keep people more loyal. I'm perhaps very positive-minded on that, and I would not keep people for developing. I'm very much on a continuous lifelong learning kind of mantra. I think that's also why I joined CEIBS in terms of that, and I want to spread that to anybody. I don't want people to stagnate in my company. I need people to grow. I need people to be their full potential. And if that means that they leave later on, but come back perhaps late, or, we have a good ally in the market, that so be it, I think. Yeah, that's what it means to build teams and let people go and go through phases. Yeah.
And finally, can you tell me a little bit about your experience at CEIBS then, and how the GEMBA MBA might have influenced you or helped pave you along the way, along your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, I started CEIBS or GEMBA in 2020, which was very interesting times as well. I think it really drills down to CEIBS giving me a more dual operating system. I mean that in a sense of, on the back of my MBA that I did in 2008, the CEIBS GEMBA program gave me more of a deeper understanding, deeper layered understanding of China business. Also, it affected me in terms of my time horizon. So where I would like focus on the next 3 years, the new business plan, or the next quarter. It really pushed me to look at more like decades, like who am I as a leader in 10 years, or now even what legacy do I want to leave in the industry or in my life. So I think that is something that Gemba, but also the people in Gemba, my peers, my classmates, really pushed me to look at really, okay, what am I bringing to the world? So I think that's a lot of reflection, a lot of discussions, and I think that's the value of where CEIBS stands. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah, I'm actually a 2009 CEIBS alumni, MBA class.
Yes.
So it changed my life when I came, for sure. But I was a total China newbie when I came. So
okay.
This was my China training ground. Aside from running a company, being a parent, what do you do to relax? What do you do to unwind? What do you do for fun in Shanghai?
I am a foodie, so I love to eat and go to new restaurants and try new recipes, even cooking, if I have time. But what I really do to relax is just to walk around the lanes and really just clear my brain, have a walk that grounds me. And just being with my kids is also very, very nice. Just hanging around, doing the weekend runs with them. So I think that's really helps me to unwind from the business complexity.
Any favorite running areas or any favorite new restaurants that you found recently?
Family restaurant like Bella Napoli, very down to earth.
Yeah.
It's just for warm pasta, and that's something I really enjoy. And then just walking around French concessions. That's our area, and yeah.
It's a beautiful part of Shanghai.
Yes.
Yeah, especially like when you get the golden hour light through the leaves and the trees.
You cannot beat. Nothing can beat it.
Yeah, amazing.
After 15 years, still my favorite area. Yeah.
And if you could go back 15 years in time and talk to your younger self when you first came to China, what advice would you give yourself?
One very big thing is not everything is a signal. China is a very on high speed, a lot of noise, a lot of conversation. So not everything is a signal. So if you can really see what's a signal and what's noise, it will really help you to focus. Another thing is you want to be efficient. You want to really look at why the market moves. So that's my other advice. Do not try to run out the market. Would go to that deeper layer of why does it move this way. And then keeping the imagination, keeping the curiosity, because there's so much around us that can also inspire us and spark new ideas. I think that's really diminished by the chase of efficiency and speed. So I think we can bring up that imagination and creativity and even in the personal sense, the kidding you is very important to really keep that spark. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.